Welcome to Commander Pop Culture, a place to gather magical information with some laughs, might I add. So you want to build Izoni Center of the Web. Well, I got a list that maybe will satisfy. The goal of the deck is to make an absurd amount of tokens so you can accomplish the bottom ability of sacrificing 4, surveil 2, draw 2, gain 2 life. That's a lot of significance. You are trading a lot of stuff away, but it doesn't specify the kind of token you have to make. So my thoughts were just make a bunch of tokens that aren't too board impactful, i.e. food and clues and treasure. She herself also puts 2/1 spiders into play when you collect evidence 4. You get that trigger when she ETBs and when she attacks. So let's look at the list. I'll talk about the synergy pieces over, the staples of removal and card advantage, unless they offer some kind of synergistic significance. This deck is also, by the way, a budget deck. Every card is $5 or less. It still comes out to a hefty price of $161. Because all these cards, I think, are staples in the game of Commander, I think you'll have a lot of these already in your collection. They'll be easy to trade for in other people's binders. First off, we have Academy Manufacturer. Whenever you make a clue, food, or treasure, you instead create each. You'll be cutting the permanent requirement for Izoni down by 3 pretty consistently, and that's why he's been here. There is a sub-theme of landfall in this deck because a lot of the budget token generators also trigger on lands entering the battlefield. So I have Azusa in this deck, and I have the other good ones like Oracle, Moldiah, and Get Rock Monster. Indrixar, cast creature spell, you create X 1/1 black thralls where X is the mana value. The bottom clause is once you have 7 or more thralls, you have to sack him. But since you have a sack outlet on your commander, that should never happen. Try to avoid killing this because he just generates an insane amount of value. Marionette Master. Like I said before, you're going to be generating all kinds of artifact tokens, and Marionette Master is one of the best for these kinds of strategies because it's 4 life per artifact that goes to your graveyard, because you choose Fabricate 3 and you put 3 counters on itself instead of making bodies. Mirkwood Bats. Whenever you create a token and sacrifice a token, each opponent loses a life, so essentially your tokens will cost your opponents 2 life each. Michael Luth, you want to devour at least 2 creatures so you get 4 counters, and that way you will always have 4 fodder for your commander at any given moment in time. Nadir Nightblade triggers when a token leaves the battlefield, drains everyone for 1, and you gain 1, so pretty dense for a 3 mana card. Peregrine Took, whenever a token would be made, you make a food as well. This is very similar to Chatterfang, but Chatterfang fell outside of my budget, so I couldn't include it. But I might make an exception for Chatterfang, maybe before the game starts, because Chatterfang is like also $6, and I guess between last night when I built this deck and today, Copy Swarm cross the threshold into $6. So if I'm already cutting corners for Copy Swarm, I might as well cut a corner for another great card like Shatterfang as well. Pitiless Plunderer is an all-star in this deck because it triggers on all creatures, including your token creatures, making more tokens. This is the only card in Magic that does this. Most other things that trigger on creatures dying have to be non-token. That's why Pitiless Plunderer is a $4 uncommon. Used to be more until it got reprinted in Caverns of Ixalan. I imagine he creeps back up in price to his $10 glory in the near future. Ramneck Excavator lets you play lands from your graveyard. I have a couple of things that mill stuff in your graveyard, so you always have enough evidence to gather, as it were. Satyr Wayfinder does that. I included all the 2 mana effects that mill yourself and get a land. It's so you never miss a land drop and always have fodder for your evidence. Screw Swarm fits the deck nicely because it's a land matters strat. Your type of Gitrog. Only Gitrog is awesome because you cantrip. I included all the budget lands that can sack themselves, so you'll be drawing a lot more cards than just what you lose at upkeep. Myco Tyrant, per time you descend in your turn on end step, you make that many fungus tokens. If you could find 4 tokens generating from a single permanent repeatedly, that's the dream, and this fits that nicely. The only thing that sucks about it is it only triggers on your turn, so don't sacrifice your tokens on someone else's turn, because then you'll miss out on the end step trigger from this. Tireless Provisioner makes a token per land drop. Same with Tireless Tracker. Tormod. I run this and the Desecrated Tomb because Izoni moves creatures from your graveyard by exiling them. So you'll make a zombie or a bat pretty consistently. I'm leaving room for Chalk Outline, which was spoiled very recently. It operates the same way as Tormod and Desecrated Tomb, only instead of Wolverine Riders, because you're making a token every turn, Zulaport for an Aristocrat, Light from the Loam, you're going to be milling your lands or sacrificing them. That's why it's in here. It also has Dredge, so you'll be dumping lands into your graveyard to get back for later. Mulch is one of those 2-mana cards I was talking about earlier. You mill a bunch.
We need more evidence. More evidence.
Winding Way, same story. Worm Harvest, this is another land strategy piece, only it also lends to the synergy of making bodies. Make a 1/1 worm per land that's in your graveyard, and then it also has Retrace, so you can cast from your graveyard by discarding a land and paying its mana cost. It's a single card that generates 4+ bodies on a single card. And that's all I really care about. Grizzly Salvage, another mill piece. Bootlegger Stash is also another all-star in this deck. Lands have the ability to tap to create a treasure token, so you'll always meet that 4-token requirement. Conduit of Worlds, it's another play a land from your graveyard. If you have nothing else better to do, like your Hellbent, you could cast something from your graveyard and maybe rebuild. Genesis Chamber is really sweet. You are playing 32 creatures, so you'll be making a lot of bodies. They're also artifacts, so it lends itself nicely to Marionette Master. Scepter of Celebration. Izoni is a 5/4, and this will make her a 7/4 with Trample. Whenever it connects with the player, you make that many 1/1 citizen tokens. Makes your Izoni threatening. You could finish someone in 3 cracks if they don't block it. Scepter is a pretty awesome card in this deck. Agent of the Iron Throne for a more Aristocrat stuff. Bastion of Remembrance. Dark Prophecy, it's in here because it triggers on anything dying. Includes your tokens. Fey Offering. Beginning of each end step, if you cast both a creature and a non-creature, you get one of each clue, treasure, and food. That happens quite often because you have a really good even split. You have 32 creatures, and if my eyes don't deceive me, you have 38 non-creature spells. That's a perfect blend because then you have 34 lands in this deck as well. Everything's well balanced. Moldavine Reclamation. This also triggers on your token creatures. Draw a card. Gain a life. Oubliette. If you watch my channel, I think neutering people's commanders is extremely important because they are the glue that holds a lot of decks together. Phasing is a special zone because you can't elect to put it back in your command zone. Once it's underneath Oubliette, it's stuck there.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Kind of like Saga of the Dryads. We could talk about the land package. I am running Terramorphic Expanse and all the other lands that sack themselves, including the new Escape Tunnel. Slightly better version than Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic. They're in here for your land strategies. They're quite good. Normally I don't play tap lands because I hate them. They suck a lot of tempo out of your game, but if it lends itself to a synergy, then I run them. I also run Riveteer's Outlook for fixing, Crystal Vein for ramp, Demolition Field, and Ghost Quarter to blow up pesky stuff like Gaia's Cradle. You'd be surprised, because I play these decks on my channel, which means I'm playing on Magic the Gathering Online. People's definition of casual is extremely different than what it is in paper because everything is so incredibly affordable. Let's take a look at what my deck costs in Moto. I'll update it to cheapest. So on Moto, this is a $34 deck compared to what I mentioned before. That's the power of Moto, and that's part of why I love playing Magic the Gathering Online, is that you have access to everything for an exact dollar value. Unlike Magic Arena, you have to open packs to get your goddamn cards and play what you want, or use your wild cards. It's a bullshit system, if you ask me. The other card that is surprisingly in budget is actually Glacial Chasm. Since I have a lot of recursion pieces from my graveyard, Glacial Chasm is awesome. It basically puts up a wall so people can't hurt you. You get to do your strategy of Aristocrats with relative safety. Difficult to remove, it being a land. And that brings us to the end of the deck. I might include the 2-drop that acts like a Sylvan Reclamation, and I also might make room for Sylvan Reclamation in this deck because of the consistency of milling lands and or sacrificing them. It's just good value just to have in here. This list does feel really tight as is right now. If people want to look at it, I'll include it in the description below. If you see something that could be cut, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and I'd have to make 2 more cuts if I was to fit Splendid Reclamation and the 2-drop body that was spoiled recently. So if you do like it, what you saw, I do deck techs, I do gameplay, and I do spoiler reviews. I think we have a grand old time here. Subscribe if you stayed this long. Clearly enjoyed it. Tell your friends about it. I'm sure they'll enjoy it too. Everyone take care now. Have a great night. Bye.